According to my vague memory, the first time I came into contact with anime was about 17 years ago. That day, my cousin and I stole a CD from my brother and watched it on TV. I can't remember the main plot, but it seemed to be about robots, wars, and the sort. Oh yes, and it also included a blue talking cat, and the ending was very touching. Now that I think about it, that movie might have been Doraemon, Nobita, and the Steel Troops. Because the most influential thing for me of that movie was that it contained female nude scenes, it directly scared me and my cousin. Because at that time, we still thought that the only difference between women and men was in combat power. But this is also a fact, because I never won against them even once. After watching this movie, my cousin and I had a heated discussion. The topic of discussion was not about the plot, but about the structure of women and whether they'll be pregnant or not after kissing a man. Eventually, I still can't remember who won the discussion, but I did remember the angry face and the hanger on my mother's hand when she saw two kindergarten kids discussing the female body. I don't remember the rest at all, but this undoubtedly gave me an opportunity to become an anime fan. Doraemon has also become my abecedarian teacher. This is why my avatar is Doraemon, and it has occupied my favorite anime spot for 17 years. When I was in elementary school, Japanese anime had gradually become popular, so much so that a large part of the content on TV programs and the daily chatting of classmates were largely about Japanese anime. Basically, if you didn't watch Naruto or One Piece, sometimes you'd have no idea what other classmates were talking about. I still remember once, a person asked the whole class if they had watched Cardcaptorsakura and Saint Tail. Of course I have. And there were more Cardcaptor cards in my house than Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But I still pretended that I didn't know anything, because at that time, I thought that this type of anime was for girls, and none of the boys in the class had said they'd watched it. Therefore, if I said I like these girl things, I might have been laughed at by everyone. By the way, after I went to junior high school, I realized that all the boys in our elementary class had actually watched those two anime, and some even bought a full set of action figures and Cardcaptor cards. The reason why they stayed silent was the exact same as mine. More than 20 people performing the same performance at the same time without practicing at all have lied to me for 6 years. If no one had asked, I might have never known how deep their mindsets were. It's always for you guys to continue being elementary school students. Academy Awards welcome you for Best Actors. Therefore, I came to this conclusion when I was in junior high school. Sexism mostly comes from persecutory delusions. Back when I was in elementary school, I watched anime with my brother at the time. Basically, I watched whatever he watched. The first anime I watched by myself was Naruto. At that time, I only started watching it because I felt that the career of a ninja was pretty cool and unique. As a result, when I saw the 30th episode of this anime, I was shocked and still impressed to this day. That episode was the first time that Sasuke versed Orochimaru in the forest. The cool action shots, the rich variety of props, and the use of ninjutsu and ninja tools was just simply mind-blowing. At the same time, I was able to watch the complete works of Naruto in 2 months, and the passion made me watch both One Piece and Reborn. I don't know how many times more the speed and enjoyment of watching anime at that time were compared to now. After watching all the 3 feature-length anime, my passion has not diminished, rather it increased. Then I found an anime named Elfenlied in a lot of anime lists. You know, everyone has no resistance to this cute image the first time they watch this anime. However, the more important thing was that what I found of this anime, it didn't have any censoring and FBI warnings. At that time, I was looking forward to it and happily clicked play. After 3 minutes, I almost turned off the computer with my mind completely blown. If you are interested in this anime, you can watch it, but I'm not daring to play it. According to my personal experience, you'd better not bring any kids to watch this anime together if you don't want to leave them with any psychological trauma. After that, I haven't watched any anime for a long time, and I even feel that I still have a little gynophobia and hematophobia. I also learned a deep lesson that day, that not all anime is made for children. Other than occasionally seeing some anime on TV in the next few years, I didn't voluntarily look for them. Oh, except every time I felt lonely, when there's no one at home to play with me, I'll turn on the computer to watch some Detective Conan. Every time I finished watching, however, I would feel that there were many small, dark people in the house, holding white knives, showing white teeth, and smiling at me creepily. Instantly not feeling bored anymore, and rather feeling that my house is pretty lively. I remember one day, the art teacher didn't bring us to draw, but turned on the computer instead to let us watch a movie. And this was no ordinary movie, mind you. It was a Ghibili animated movie. The teacher showed us Spirited Away, the box office record holder of Japanese animated movies, and also explained the production process of general anime. On the surface, it was just an obvious story of a little girl who got into the trap of capitalism. Then she was forced to be a child laborer. Eventually, the little girl rescues her parents that were sold, escaping the trap of a simple story. But these works have a kind of inexplicable magic that makes the audience fully immersed when watching. Even after I am an adult, I still want to enter the colorful summer that Hayao Miyazaki has created for children. I turned on my computer immediately when I came back home that day, and I finished watching My Neighbor Totoro and Sky Castle in one night. To be honest, I even watch Ghibli movies every once in a while. If you watch them at different ages, you'll find something that you haven't discovered before. I think this is also the charm of Ghibli movies. Since then, I have been obsessed with animated films. At that time, there were many animated films from different countries and different cultures, and some were not specifically made for children. But what they all had in common was that they were full of imagination, worth watching many times, such as Coraline and Paprika, and so on and so forth. When I was in junior high school, a lot of excellent works began to appear, such as Fullmetal Alchemist and Death Note being some examples. But I didn't watch any of them, because at that time, anime and games were very controversial topics. These specific terms, video game addiction and internet addiction, have also increased when parents and teachers are chatting. It seemed that everyone treated these two things like drugs. At that time, I also knew that anime and games would affect immature children. In fact, I was also one of those victims, as I would often see kids imitating the action of shooting guns from GTA, or a child deliberately buying a black notebook and writing the name of an annoying person on it. Although I admit that anime and games will affect immature children, as someone who has watched Ghibli movies, and for kids who've played Nintendo games, I don't think I would admit that all games and animes are drugs. It's normal for children to imitate the behavior of the person they like, but unfortunately, that person is not their parent. Everyone in the 21st century still believes that anime and games were specially designed for children. Why do so many adults not know the lessons I learned in elementary school? Why don't they stop and think about why these violent games have age ratings in the first place? Why can children play these games? Why would they rather play games than with their parents? 40 years ago, novel addiction. 30 years ago, TV addiction. 20 years ago, idol addiction. 10 years ago, internet addiction. Now anime and games are becoming addictions. The speed of you guys making new vocabulary is faster than the speed of me learning new vocabulary. It feels like school bullies when they find the weakest person and start beating them up. And after the bully grows up, they find another target. Please don't tell my parents I said this. But fortunately, at least this type of controversy is a bit less now than it was then, and no one will blame any strange crimes on anime or games. Games like Minecraft are also now kind of puzzle games for children, and the biggest enemy of the anime industry has changed from parents to COVID-19 and Shinji Aoba. However, at that time, I wasn't interested in these arguments. You see, at that time, I was just bored because there was no anime to watch. There's no anime to watch doesn't mean that I have watched all of them. It just means that there are too many of them, and it was kind of hard to decide where to start. In general, most anime websites will divide anime into action, comedy, harem, etc. But once, I actually found a category called Training Your Sharingan on an unknown anime website. I was a bit curious, so I clicked on it, and the anime in there were Clannad, Canon, Air, Angel Beats, and Anohana, etc. This website didn't lie to me at all. After watching them, my eyes really were red, and it also came with Sasuke's same type of depression. Afterwards, it might be difficult for me to watch any other type of anime seriously, so I started to review some of the ones I had already watched before. As a result, when I watched Cardcaptorsakura for the second time, I realized how pure I was in elementary school. This anime includes homosexuality, lesbians, teacher and student love, and father and daughter love.
Yuki, お前、俺が知らねえと思ってるかもしんねえけど、いや、お前も知らねえかもしんねえけど、俺はお前がいなくなるのは嫌だ。
What the hell did I watch as a child? On the way to find the anime I have watched, I found a very familiar anime called Chobits. It was also my first Japanese teacher. When I was in elementary school, I saw my brother watching the 4th episode of this anime, so I watched it with him. The story is more or less about the male protagonist picking up the heroine. She was a computer, but lost all her memories. The two began to live together, and the male protagonist taught her the way of life and some daily knowledge. Then the heroine slowly began to look more and more human. Good job, Clamp, making Detroit become human 20 years ago. One of the heroines that impressed me the most when I was a child repeated the word pants in Japanese, which means underwear, hundreds of times. This resulted in the first Japanese word I learned being underwear. But at that time, I naively thought that I was already an anime master, and I won't be ashamed of hearing the word pants. By the way, the author of this anime is the same as Cardcaptorsakura. Therefore, this anime will definitely not exceed the tragedy that Elfenlied gave me. However, I was wrong. because in the first episode, the heroine is asleep and the protagonist needs to press the switch to activate her, but the position of the switch is there, the most private place for women. The heroine is almost completely nude and the protagonist must, you know... I finally understand why my brother wouldn't show me the first episode. Anyways, please don't discriminate against this anime, because this anime was actually really great. It had top-notch quality, as well as a great prospective cohort study. This anime teaches young people about the cruelty of society, so that women know how to protect themselves. Maybe a good person you meet on the road wants to take you to film a porno, letting men be responsible people. The only difference between this anime and real life is that it transforms computers and the internet into a human shape, briefly describing the relationship between people and computers through a fairy tale way. But of course including teacher-student love and father-daughter love. But I still have another question after watching this anime. If the switch of a female computer needs to be pressed down, is the switch of a male computer like a gear shift of a car?